Hey guys, it's James Flippin for the Artie Quitter podcast. Today, Artie had to go to Brooklyn for a TV taping, so he was unable to record a new episode today. We just felt like it's going to be too late when he gets back, so better to put something out today. Here's an extra show we did last week, and it starts out with a mention of Gerald. Gerald in Detroit and best wishes for him. This was, of course, before we knew what a scandal it was, in fact, behind Gerald. Nah, just kidding. Take it easy on Gerald. And if Gerald's listening to this, keep going, Gerald. Keep with it. Everybody deserves a second chance. And it was an well, I don't know about understandable mistake, but, it happens. Anyway, without any further ado, here is an episode that was recorded at the end of October 2015.
Mental state should be checked. That's what I was trying to say.
All right.
Because I had to go through like six different tests.
Well, where's Gerald?
He's in the hospital.
What, you said we're going to call him?
No, we want to wish him well.
Who?
All right.
I never said we were going to call him. I said we want to wish him well.
Again, I'm sorry. We're on?
Okay, let's start. Okay.
Do you think anyone saw that? You just went nodded and said, okay. Yeah. We can start whenever we want.
Yeah.
Dan just restarted the podcast by going, and okay. he nodded his head as if we're on television.
Nodded to me. I was like, oh,
that's
all right,
his action.
Okay. And we're going to start over and okay. All right. Now, guys, no. Well, there's a really loyal fan of the show, Gerald in Detroit, Joe Rosser. As a matter of fact, he's the president of the Artie Lang Black Fan Club. He is, the Artie Quitter Podcast Black Fan Club, and he's trying to do stand-up. And what happened? His brother got in a car accident?
No. Gerald got in a car accident.
And how is he?
He's in ICU in Michigan. Here's the car. It's terrible.
Okay.
Oh my God, the whole
And
thing's on fire.
he's in bad shape in the hospital, and we wanted to wish him the best.
Again, Dan is doing this for what reason? Because
the brother. What
happened?
No, I would have done anyway. But this morning
we would not have done this.
Gerald sends me jokes a lot in the morning, and I didn't see that it was from his brother saying that he was in the hospital because I couldn't scroll up fast enough, and it was first thing in the morning. I made a joke about what I thought was from Gerald. Because Gerald's brother has his phone, so he just wanted to send out a text.
We should not and start over again because you did not explain that properly.
Okay.
What was it? Let's start over.
Start over.
What are you doing? Just let's start over completely.
No, because then James will play this whole thing, and then we'll.
Who will play it?
Flippin'.
Why? No, he won't. Tell him. No. Are you kidding? What are you talking about?
Kidding.
Do we live in a world where James will actually play that?
No.
Okay. Jesus Christ. He was not going to play something I don't want to play, right?
He's in Mets fever, so it's not on purpose, but he'll.
Okay, are we living in a world where he's so much of a Met fan he might accidentally play something I ask him not to play?
Yes.
What are we talking about?
Yes.
What? Yeah,
he doesn't listen, so I want to make sure I give him the exact times.
He won't listen because he's too much of a Met fan right now.
Right, he will not listen to the show, so I'll give him.
So he'll just play stuff without us.
Why does it matter if I'm writing down the cue time?
Because we're just going to redo the whole thing. Why are you...
Because I wanted to do from the start, so I have to give him the time. And
you're telling me that he might air something he shouldn't air because he's too much of a Met fan.
I just want to make sure that he doesn't.
Should I worry about my editor if that's the case?
Yes.
He had a bad night.
It was a bad night, I give you that.
But do you think he should set aside those feelings?
Yeah. Well, but
the fact that Dan's really worried about it worries me.
I thought you were thinking like there's a game tonight and he wasn't going to have time. That's what I thought you were going for. Did they play tonight? They play tonight, right? Tonight. Yeah.
Even that would be, he should be fired if there's no time.
Yes. You can edit a podcast while you watch baseball.
And do you agree that it's hard to understand when Dan's joking or not?
Oh yeah. I don't know when he's mad, happy. No, it's all the same.
I don't know what was okay.
It's the exact same face.
I'm trying to help you here. You know that, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Welcome back to the Artie Quitter podcast. We are back after a very emotional show in a lot of ways. There's a big fan of the show is Gerald. in Detroit. And as a matter of fact, I did not realize that was actually him. I thought it was somebody he knows. I really love Gerald. He's a good guy. I've talked to him off the air, and he got into a really bad car accident, and the car in flames. And he's the guy. He's first of all a day one subscriber. So people who are that loyal of him, I really have an affection for. And he jokingly said he was the president of the Artie Lang Black Fan Club. He really wanted that title. I believe he actually started something, and it's just him so far. But really good guy, loyal listener, a lot of funny stuff and interesting stuff that's always right on point on Twitter. And again, it's Gerald from Detroit. Gerald Rosser, I believe, is his real name. And he got in a major car accident yesterday or today?
Yesterday.
Yesterday. And he's in ICU, the intensive care unit, somewhere, I guess, outside of Detroit in Michigan. By the way, I've been in ICU in Detroit. I collapsed on stage in Detroit because my blood sugar was, I believe, the same as Babe Ruth's lifetime slugging percentage, 590. And I did. I was 9 days. I was in ICU in Detroit. I've been there, but it was, I think, a privileged white hospital. So I think Gerald has to. I pray that he's in a better place. But is that all the information we have? He's just in ICU.
All the information that is in ICU, and I've been texting his brother.
Critical condition? What kind of condition?
He didn't say. His brother didn't say.
And the car's on fire.
In ICU.
Well, the fact that he's in ICU isn't great. So, in all seriousness, our hearts go out to Gerald and his family. I really hope you're okay, buddy. I mean, we wouldn't take this time to talk about someone that we didn't know was legit a fan and a really good guy. So you're talking to his brother. Tell his brother I'd like to speak to him too at some point and see what's going on there.
His brother has his phone, and this morning I didn't.
Again, there's something that happened. It was a misunderstanding this morning that's so ridiculous that people on Twitter think Dan joked about the accident. He jokes back and forth with Gerald, and he thought Gerald was joking with him. And to even say the context of it is stupid, it's childish. He joked back and forth about something that was, a third grade type stuff that, Dan wouldn't have joked about if he knew he was in a fucking car accident.
Never.
And people on Twitter are starting to say, Dan did it on purpose and is being insensitive. That's the most retarded thing ever. So if you see that on Twitter and you're listening, believe me, don't think for a second about it. Dan, likes Gerald to the point where he wanted to mention that. So, our hearts go out to Gerald, and we hope you're okay, brother. Okay, we should bring this to a halt. What a roller coaster from defending national security to Shuley. No, the whole cop thing. I'm glad Justin came here. Justin McKinney with, again, you can tell you got a lot of passionate points about that because it's a real thing, man. It's a terrible thing that's going on with cops. We need cops. And if they don't want to be, people don't want to be cops anymore because assholes are videotaping them. It's a bad thing to be living in this society.
People don't have any solutions. They just want to badmouth them. Have a war on cops. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Let's have a war on cops.
Perfect.
When there's criminals out there that would, rob you, rape you, let's get rid of cops.
Again, it doesn't, the alternative, again, there's problems in the system, but it's by far the best system.
It's also amazing that when you post something bad, people don't think that there's ever good. It's like I posted a few videos, and I think I posted like 4 videos of me yelling at hecklers before I was on medication.
Right.
I have people going, I can't hire you. You yell at hecklers every time. They would literally say every time. I go, do you know how many sets are in? There's years in between these fucking videos.
What's weird too is that those people don't even own comedy clubs.
But like someone needs to start posting. If you see a cop doing something really nice, videotape it and put it up on YouTube.
The problem is it'll just get on YouTube. The media won't air it.
It will get one hit.
Let's see that. I challenge you there, MSNBC. And again,
Justin, tell him the story. You would pull. You got to tell him some of the funny, positive stories when you were a cop because he was like the nicest cop that it's like ridiculous.
Right. Well, I mean, he was in a small town in Maine where I guess everybody knows each other. Right?
But I mean, it was just I was officer. I became a cop. My whole family hated cops.
Right.
My dad would get pepper sprayed right in front of us. You know what I mean? He'd resist arrest. I would see my dad as an 8-year-old kid. I'm like, the cop's right. Like I'm looking at him going, my dad is the one that's wrong here.
Well, wait a minute.
Like, I saw that as an 8-year-old.
You're Irish? or
Scottish
Okay,
Irish,
Scottish.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and you're from New England.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's just if you just put that on paper, you'd think your family was either cops or pro-cop. That's an interesting thing. Like why they were specifically had an issue with police officers?
They
or?
just authority. My dad with authority.
Right, well,
it was just that whole thing.
Yeah, right,
and,
exactly.
Yeah, it was all that. And the first time I came home with my police cruiser, they didn't know it was me. They all went running out the back door. Like that's a total true thing. They
Well, was there
literally
warrants out for their arrest?
Yeah, there was. When I was on duty, I would get calls that we got an arrest warrant for your dad. You know what I mean? Like that would come over the radio.
What was that about? Or just because of stuff he did? With
all drunken stuff. Failure to appear, reckless conduct with a firearm. I mean, it just goes on and on.
Wow.
Disorderly, criminal trespass.
Tell him the brick
he
story.
threw a brick. I was in junior high. He got mad at the bank, so he ran out the door.
He got mad at the bank.
Mad at the bank. They wouldn't give him a loan. They wouldn't give him a loan.
Well, listen.
So he.
That's that. You get mad at the people who don't do that.
So he flies out the door in his underwear, drives to the bank, throws a brick through the front window, broad daylight.
I hope Judd Apatow's listening. And so wait a minute. How far away is the bank from your house?
Just a few minutes.
Walking in your underwear?
No,
for a
he
minute or
drove.
driving?
No, he drove. A few minute
In
drive.
his underwear.
In his underwear. And this is the thing.
I love stories like
My
that.
buddy Alan, Artie, my buddy Alan lived across the street from the bank. My phone rings. He goes, yeah, is your dad home? And I'm like, no, why? He goes, I think I just saw him throw a brick through the bank window of his underwear. I'm like, he did say he had some errands to do. I mean, what was I supposed to say? And I knew he was pissed.
That is fucking amazing. That is amazing. So, okay, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
3 brothers.
Okay, just brothers.
But when my mom passed away when I was 6.
Right.
So my aunt, her sister moved in. And ended up with my dad.
So blue collar situation. What did your father do for a living?
He owned a telephone answering service. You know the old switchboard type.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, but he never thought the pager and cell phone thing was going to take off, so he never never adapted the technology.
I have a similar story.
So,
my father installed TV antennas.
And he did that too. They the antennas, the old antenna service, and all that.
Cable came along.
Service.
My father didn't see cable running.
He didn't see it coming.
And
well, so he ended up losing everything. Ended up homeless. I mean, he literally lived in.
God, well, if he's throwing bricks through.
He lived in the pay toilet at a parking garage.
No,
and yeah. But he's been sober for 7 years.
And where does he live
April
now?
Fools. Now, April Fools. On April Fool's Day, he became sober, which when he told us all on April Fools that he was going sober, we totally thought he was
That's a
with
bad
us.
day to get sober
day.
because people every year people are going to think you're bullshitting. Every year you're going to say I have 7 years.
Yeah.
It's
April Fools.
Wait till the second.
Yeah.
It's funny because Justin was the first.
That's a great joke.
Was the first comedian that I saw in New York that was like getting all these TV deals because he would tell this on stage, then get the meeting, and then tell this shit at a meeting and just fucking get all the money thrown at him. And I was just like, I need to talk about that, but I didn't have near as much.
Well, that's the problem. I got those early deals too because I had the same exact thing.
Crazy life.
My father was nuts, crazy stories, and I would get the stuff thrown. Also, I had to think of a fat guy after the King of Queens. After that success with Kevin James, they were like on top of it. He's a fat guy, like they're creative. They're not creative at all. They're like just throw like a fucking UPS uniform on this guy. We got $1 million. And,
Here's what you and Justin have different. You didn't keep it. You blew some of the money, but you still kept some. Like Justin has crazy, depressing stories of what happened with all the money he got thrown at him because he still had that gene.
Well, what happened with me was I got lucky in the sense that I started getting those deals after I got on Mad TV because I had a couple of years of Mad TV money that I had saved, and then I got the film with Norm, Dirty Work. Mm-hmm. That got me those meetings, and I saw. So based on the fact that I had the reel tape from because if you do 2 years of sketch comedy, you're going to have a good reel tape, even if you're not good at it. I had like 15 sketches. I had the fact that I had done Dirty Work with Norm, which didn't come out yet, and tanked, so people thought it was going to be a big deal. Which Norm, Chris Farley, and those stories. So that got me 4 years of just deal after deal. And then I kept, because I had been on TV, I kept doing stand-up, the sitcom, and then the Stern Show. Like, I got a lot of very lucky things that happened to where, as much as I fucked up, and I fucked up a lot and blew a lot of money, like, I still have, like, this place and other shit just because no one's that much of a fuck up.
Well, Justin took financial advice from the doorman at Dangerfield. This is hilarious.
Doorman, the waiter. He was the waiter.
The waiter?
The waiter at Dangerfields became a stockbroker 98, 99, back when the market was soaring, right?
I wouldn't take food suggestions. Like if you said the chicken over the fish, I'd say, give me the fish. Okay, go ahead. What did he say to do? So
He
stock
talked me into
advice.
slowly give him my money. I gave him all my money. I had these deals, 98, 99, had these big deals. I gave it all to him.
Oh no!
Except, what? No.
You gave it to the waiter.
It kept going. Look, now I tell people you're supposed to give waiters tips, not take tips from waiters. It literally just ruined my life.
Wait a minute. Okay, first of all,
I didn't give it
we're
all at
burying the
once.
lead because the podcast should have been 4 hours of Justin McKinney, and we're going to come back for this, I believe. Well, first of all, guys, where are you guys going? With the drain and the traffic, you're looking at 8 hours. You should stay anyway.
It looks bad.
Honestly, you don't have to do red eye, right?
No, I might do a set at Levity Live tonight, but
I'll blow that off here. I'm kidding. What do you have to do? You got to get back?
Nothing.
Well, you could argue that you should
Hide from my family.
beat out the traffic. Well, you could argue that you're going to be sitting in traffic.
Oh, I know we are.
So
He just needs to get to Levity Live. There's a 7:30 show. That's all he needs to do. We can go to Levity Live.
Wait a minute, though. That is an issue. I don't want to fuck him up here.
Unless he wants to skip running his TV set.
But listen, okay, wait a minute. Listen. You drove. You're obviously driving.
I drove you.
Guys, you could argue you should leave right now. I can make a good argument with the traffic. You should leave right now.
What time is it?
Levity Live in Nyack. I've played that a couple of times. I know
it's about an hour from here in traffic.
yeah,
an hour and 15.
It doesn't look like they've actually confirmed it.
Oh, they
yet
didn't
with me.
confirm
I'm going
it.
to say let me know. I'm going to send them an email right now.
What TV spot are you running?
I'm doing Comedy Live tomorrow.
Okay.
Gotham Live tomorrow.
So, and you're going to run the...
I was gonna. I don't even know what I'm doing
I had
yet.
another story I wanted him to tell that I thought you would think was classic.
God, there's a backlog on what I just heard. I
I
got
know.
Jesus.
But real quick before I forget, this is because he's doing Levity Live tomorrow.
Yeah.
He has a joke that I think's really funny, and he's going to cut it out of his set because Sandra Bernhard's the host, and he thinks there'll be a gay audience there.
This is Gotham Live.
Yeah. He has this funny joke that I think is hilarious, but he's not going to do it. And I said, you got to tell Artie that
Again, I'm the kind of guy who'll say do
audience.
it, but I'm the kind of guy who'll say do it. But I'm also the kind of guy who probably would have said don't give your money to the Dangerfield's waiter.
But you can give good advice because you hosted Gotham Live.
Several times,
Do
yeah.
your own fans come to it? Will Sandra Bernhard's fans be in the crowd, or will she just
That's
be
a
the
good
host?
question. No, there's not. It's not like a Sandra Bernhard live gig. That's not what I found. But there were people there for me, absolutely, and it might be enough to fuck you over.
And it's
because
in
with that,
Chelsea.
you just need a certain group of people to spoil the rest
All
of
right,
the.
tell them the
But
joke.
go ahead,
Tell me you
I'll-
think it would turn
I'll put it
people,
together.
gay people, make them not laugh? Would they boo this joke?
Go ahead.
He doesn't want to hear the joke.
No, I do. Of
You
course.
do wanna hear the joke?
This is my entire
I do
career
this
is
joke.
do
I
gay
do this
people
joke
after
that I used to work in a jail. Before I got into the world, I was in the jail. Learned a lot about tattoos. Teardrop tattoos, mean each drop means somebody who's supposedly killed.
Right.
I didn't know that.
So in other words, when an inmate has the tattoo of a teardrop under his eye,
Yeah.
that means they murdered somebody.
They
Someone
murdered
they
somebody.
knew got killed.
No,
Okay, they murdered
They
somebody.
murdered somebody
Okay.
they've killed. So I didn't know that. I saw all these tattoos on Facebook. I go, what's all the tattoos? I've killed 5 people. And I'm like, well, it looks like you're being a baby about it. I'm like,
Well, that's a great
But
joke
wait,
because I was about to
but
say,
goes-
God, he's sensitive about it.
yeah, you might want to get those removed if you're going to make it in here, So, but then I go, I don't have any tattoos. I go, but if I ever got sentenced to prison, I would get a tattoo. I would get a lower back tattoo that says AIDS survivor. Right?
Okay,
So
let me
that-
tell you something. Go ahead. I can stop you right now.
But no. But my point is, you see where I'm going with this, right?
Is that the end of the joke?
I don't want to do that joke if I feel like that joke could be.
The joke is a fantastic joke. That's not the issue. It's a fucking hilarious joke. But
I love
in
that
this
joke.
fucking day and age where every comedy, even at the Comedy Cellar, which is supposed to be the epicenter of hipness and they get it and they're fucking supposed to be so cosmopolitan, nothing can offend them. And again, David Tell said these audiences now, these new sensitive audiences who grew up in the MTV generation are not prepared for what they're about to see sometimes. The fact that you just say the word AIDS, it doesn't matter what you say after that, what you said before it. It doesn't even matter Sandra Bernhard or not. Like, you could argue that you probably can't ever do that joke again in this day and age.
Ever.
Cool.
But you do it a
But
lot,
I do,
right?
yeah, and I don't ever get any backlash. I don't ever hear any backlash. I just feel like
I don't want to give you the wrong advice because
I don't feel
if
like
there was justice, people should applaud that as a great, edgy, smart joke. But I really do think you might lose them in this particular situation. Because of the word AIDS specifically.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of there's.
Kurt Metzger would open with it.
Well, I used to do shit like that all the time too, where I didn't care. Again,
you have an age joke?
Well, at the 2004, I had. I used to do a bit about
Big Burr with AIDS,
well,
right?
well, there was again. Sesame Street in Australia. There was this is a true story. Political correctness had gotten to the point where, to teach kids about HIV, this really happened in the Sesame Street in Australia. They had a character on set. One of the puppets had AIDS, was HIV positive, had AIDS. And I said the bit was, why would you want kids to learn about that at a young age? Can't they wait till like 15 years old to find out the world really sucks? Like, Snuffleupagus shows up, he weighs only 50 pounds, Big Bird's like, what's the matter? Stuff, I have AIDS, Bird. Shared a needle with Mr. Hooper, Bird. Stuff like that. So that's all these age jokes. And it always killed in like Arizona and stuff like that. But there were times that would dig a hole in New York and L.A. And my problem was it was long. I had to commit to it because I had like 4 I walk. It's in Jack and Coke.
Yeah.
It's in Jack and Coke, and those are fans that whatever, they're vicious.
I thought it was in the first special.
No, it's in Jack and Coke.
It is.
It's not in the. It's the whiskey talking.
Oh,
it's in Jack and Coke, but it's like because I got 4 jokes where I'm at Snuffleupagus, Yeah, but the last one is took it in the ass one too many times, right? Which is going too far.
Yeah, well,
but I just think. Nowadays,
he already made the decision. I just said you got to tell Artie because he'll like the joke.
I wasn't even going to bring it up.
You made the right decision. No, it's an unbelievably great joke, but you're right in saying don't do it. Probably,
I think so it's done.
Because there's even some assholes. I hate these assholes who think they'll say, like in show business, if you did that joke, you know what? They admit it's a great joke, but you know what? Even bringing up that subject is not sense. Shut the fuck up.
It is crazy. I mean, I've got everyone's got a podcast. You think yours is amateur, Joe's is amateur. I have an idea. I have all the equipment sitting in my house. I've never done anything with it. Right?
Yeah, he's never done the podcast.
But it was the post-war in comedy. Was my idea was that you make a post on social media and everyone goes up in arms. I made a joke on women's equality, and I got in a back and forth with this woman.
Sure.
And it was just this back and forth because I made a joke about Patricia Arquette after the Academy Awards, and it's like you can't win now.
What did you say?
I just basically said, remember she on the Academy Awards? Remember she said,
about the women's
she goes, it's time
salary.
women get equal pay. So all I wrote was, I go, you know what? I didn't realize equal pay for women wasn't happening. Every job I've ever had, my female coworkers made the same money as me. You mean to tell me all those jobs I was underpaid? Right? I go, not cool. That was it. That was the joke. And the one woman goes, you just lost a follower for that joke.
Right.
You don't joke about equality. But then I threw it out there to other people. I said, ladies, does this really bother you? And everyone was on my side. Like literally, it was just one person, and we just went back and forth in this war, and it was really comical, the back and the forth, and it was just so I just thought it wasn't interesting, but it is nowadays. It's like abortion, the Planned Parenthood thing now. If you go there,
my gig about that, my joke about that was always like, I had a job where the female people were paid much higher than me, and I was a hooker on the corner of 43rd and 8th, and the chicks, every chick got paid higher than me.
Yeah.
But then there's comedians, that go the way you shouldn't, that you're saying not to do it, and they become very successful. So it's confusing as a comedian.
No, it depends on, again, where you're going with what you want to do. Like, I got rewarded for a lot of crazy shit because of the world I happen to get into.
Right. Did I ever tell you the story when Rosie O'Donnell?
Yeah.
That joke you used to like about that I do about the word where I say faggot.
Right.
Where I'm calling.
Right. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Now I feel like you got to tell the joke because
that joke is in the movie The Hangover, by the way.
I know. I remember you calling me going, they did your joke, and I was like, oh fuck, that is kind of similar. But my joke was how my wife's a psychologist. She's a good listener. She's such a good listener. It's frustrating. I went to Vegas for my brother's bachelor party. 3 seconds in, she goes, you don't sound like yourself. I go, maybe that's because 9 of my friends are in the other room yelling faggot.
Right.
Now, Rosie O'Donnell was in the crowd. Now, this is similar to what your situation would have been. She wasn't even the host. She was just, I didn't even know she was in the crowd. Right. She was in the crowd. She gets up and does a set after me and goes, who was that comedian that just said that word?
Right.
I dare him. He's obviously an amateur. And I was just like, what are you talking about?
How did she know?
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
No, at the 2000...
I'm like, the joke got a huge laugh, and it's the word faggot is used in a different context in the joke.
That's a word I won't say. Like, that's some words I won't say.
I still say... In 2004 at the Aspen Comedy Festival, I walked 3 of the writers from Sex and the City. I did that Snuffleupagus thing, and they walked out. And my manager at the time, Peter, gave me, "What are you doing?" They walked out, blah blah blah. And I'm like, "I think that's great. Like, you should shout that from the mountaintops." And I got a deal to do my first DVD because of that. It's the Whiskey Talk, and happened because I did that bit, so somebody else rewarded me for something.
See, that's what I mean. That's where it's confusing. It's like it makes you want to just go.
Well, in the whiskey, it's the Whiskey Talk, and the thing that I do a bit where it's based on a true story, and I tell a story. Tell it. The only way you can tell it is if you really use the word. Is I say the N word 80 times in it, and it's based on something that really happened. I was playing street basketball with a bunch of black guys. I wasn't getting the ball, and they were calling each other nigger. They were going, "Hey, throw the ball, nigga, I'm open." And the story, the bit is, what if I actually just said I'm open, nigga? See what would have happened to get the ball. And the bit is about what would happen afterwards. And I say it like in slow motion because if that's how it felt, like I was saying it was a dream. And I say the word like 50 times in it, and it was like my centerpiece bit for a long time. And it killed. And, some people would tell me you can never, ever do that. And other people were like, that's the reason we like you as a comic, and it got, I think it has like 2 million hits on YouTube, that one bit from the Whiskey Talk.
Crazy.
Yeah.
See, Justin, is the reason you're not doing the bit because you don't think it'll work in front of a gay audience, or you think it's not nice to do in front of Sandra Bernhard?
No, the gay audience,
Yeah, I think it's a combination of everything. It just didn't feel right.
Yeah,
it just doesn't feel right. I don't want to fit, you know what I mean? I don't want to do, and who knows? And even though I know, you know what I mean? I don't know. I just, look, you got 8 minutes. I got hours to, how much material to pick from. Do I need to do that bit? No.
The weird thing is about that show, Gotham Live, I don't know if this makes me an asshole comedian. When I did it, I put all the material that I'm not allowed to, that I would never be allowed to do anywhere else as my set, because I was like, I don't give a shit. I want to do all the jokes that I want to do the jokes that I like that I could never do on Letterman because they're not perfectly politically correct.
Right.
Because I'm guessing, because Justin's a really clean comedian. You probably wrote that joke because you get a little, you want to try to be a little different. Something, it gets a little, you go, let me try writing some edgier stuff.
Or do you, with a comic, or it's just a funny joke that came to your mind.
Yeah.
And you just didn't try to write something like that, and you go, okay, maybe something I wouldn't do, but it's just, I got to be true to it. Just because it's funny. It's just funny. And that's why I want to do it.
Do you have a chunk of that?
I had an earlier joke that it actually morphed from. The original joke that I first had, and you can't do them both in the same set, but I had a joke where I was never an altar boy, but if I ever was, I think during confession, I would have told the priest I had herpes. So it was just that, it was that little tiny, a little tiny joke like that, and then I thought this was better.
Like, so do that one instead.
No. But then that's a whole other kind of. But my point is, I never really did that. That was just something I wrote. But it did come in because of all tattoos. Like, who knows?
Kevin Brennan at the Cellar was telling me, and again, this is an old bit. He didn't know it though. He thought it was newer. It was something the bit I do about. This is true. I saw a midget. A midget said on TV he was complaining. Little people were complaining on the show. Little People, Big World, and the guy said calling a little person a midget is the same thing as calling a black man the N-word. And I said that's interesting. I went out one day and I tried both things to see if they're the same. And I found the random little person. I said, "Hey, midget." I found the random black man. I said, "Hey, nigger." And I got to tell you, there's a huge difference. So I did that, and he saw me do it one time, and then he saw me. And he came up and said, "Hey, man, that's funny." And then he saw me do it again, and I said, instead of nigger, I said the N-word. And it still gets a laugh. And Brendan pulled me aside and goes, "Hey, why did you say N-word instead of..." I said, "I know, sometimes I gauge the audience. I gauge them, and I go, they groaned at midget when I first brought it up. So I said, I got to minimize this. And it still gets a big laugh. And every time I get off stage, I'm pissed off I gave in to them. I really am pissed off. I'm like, fuck, I'd rather offend you than get a laugh out of you. I'd rather offend you than get a laugh out of them for watering it down. He goes, "Yeah, you shouldn't even do it if you don't say that, because it's just not nearly as good." He didn't realize that I had done it in a special before, and it was an older bit that I do, and I wish I was better at this, but when I try new material, a lot of us do this, but I wish I could do it in a more pure way. When I try new shit, I do the new stuff, and then if it doesn't do that well, I fall back on the crutch of old shit to get the laughs, So that's why I was doing something older. in the special, it was a different time, and I say nigger, not the N-word. I go, yeah, no, I did it the right way for the special. He goes, yeah, because it's so different. To him as a comic, he wouldn't even do the joke. But you could argue that, of course you should do it. It gets a laugh. But to us, we get pissed off that we let ourselves get edited because of these crowds. I do, at least. I get so fucking mad.
I do corporate and private stuff where it's like, what I mean?
Well, that's a different.
Well, then you don't need this to be out there. That would have been if you're a guy that makes most of his living doing corporate gigs. Do you want that video to live on YouTube? Would that affect your work?
What he just said is so logical and makes sense. But God, I could never live in that world. I hate thinking that way. Do I want that out there? I've never thought that way.
Yeah.
And I look. It costs me work.
Yeah.
I've gotten voiceover, celebrity sort of endorsement deals that have been taken off the table. Like the CEO of the company will Google me and he'll take it off the table. Like that happened at Howard when I got a big enough name with my voice. My agent hooked me up with a voiceover guy. He said, this is the most frustrating thing ever. You're a real famous guy from the radio. You have a unique voice. And I can't get you voiceover work because of the shit you say. And that's frustrating, but I can't edit what I say. I'd rather, you could argue I make.
But I think Joe's point is where I'm at. Living back in New Hampshire.
I'm saying he's right.
Yeah, but it does stink.
I'm not telling you not to.
I even said
you made
there.
You made the decision. You can.
You're
Artie. You can go the other way all you want.
It doesn't mean I don't do when I do lives. I don't push the envelope and I do some because I will do that. I'm not always clean. I like to work a little dirty sometimes. But the point is what's out there on the internet because you can lose jobs.
With me, it's not. Oh, you're 100% right, and I agree with Joe, and you should go that way. I'm just saying I'm not even talking about jokes. I'm talking about the fact that I had to kill. We were on Stern for all those hours every day, and during the news, I would say shit that wasn't even a joke, like opinions on stuff I just should have shut my fucking mouth about. Even here, every day I say stuff that'll probably cost me work if the biggest thing was I had been on Howard for a few years, and was going to have a new hot dog machine that they were going to have where that like injected the cheese in the hot dog, something that kills you, and they wanted me to be the guy who introduced it for the world for, and it was a lot of money. It was like I think like $750,000.
Oh my god!
Okay, for it was.
Oh my god!
3 weeks of shooting.
What?
Okay, something like that. So actually no, it was. You know what it was? It was. We'll just say it was a convenience store. A big convenience store offered me all this money, and it was it was $750,000. I can't say the convenience store, but anyway, they find out the guy who's the CEO has to approve all that shit. So he doesn't know who I am really. So they go, we'll send you some information on him, blah blah blah. The CEO supposedly. Or whatever, the guy who makes this decision is in his like mansion somewhere, and he's listening to me on the internet, and he hears me, I believe, do that N-word bit I was just talking about, where I do the basketball thing, and then he hears me on Howard telling a story that got me on the Stern Show about getting arrested for possession of cocaine. That was the bigger thing because it was a convicted felony thing. And he called up the people and go, what are you talking about? We can't hire this guy. There's no way he's doing this. And so literally my manager had the fucking contract on his desk for $750,000, 3 weeks of work. I was going to introduce this new hot dog for this big convenience store, and took it off. Like they said no, and it was more about the convicted felony. So here's the trade-off. That story, when I went in with Norm, telling that story was one of the major things that helped me get on the Stern Show. It lost me that job. So it's like, there's the trade-off.
Right.
Do you know who got the hot dog job?
No, I never even saw it. No, wait a minute. I did see the commercial, and in a way I was glad it didn't come out because the guy he had his goofy uniform with a hat. And,
you would have to dress up like a hot dog.
That might have been a deal where I said, that would have been the deal point where I said, maybe, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I would have said no to the money.
750, yeah.
Yeah, so I again, in my head, I rationalized because, look, obviously there were other stories and reasons I got on Stern, but that story in particular, for me getting arrested with the coke and everything, was what Howard made me tell every time I went back with Norm, and is what made him think of me when the Jackie chair was open.
Right.
And so...
all comes around.
In my head, I made a trade, but again, I don't know.
My question, I have a quick question on this subject. Has there ever been a comedian, I'm asking everybody sitting here,
yes,
that has transitioned twice in a different style? Because I think Justin and I both we're clean comedians, but we have these.
Were they successful in both?
Both,
and known
yeah.
I was gonna say you get Larry the Cable Guy, but he wasn't known as the other guy.
No, I'm talking like someone that because every once in a while I go, I'd like to do my whole next hour not about me at all, do very observational, edgier stuff.
When Dennis Miller changed from liberal to right wing, you could kind of say that.
Yeah, but do you think the act sounds a lot different?
No,
it's
the same,
still
same funny joke.
You got George Carlin, he was clean at the beginning and then he got dirty, but he was way better as the dirty.
Never would have been known as.
Wouldn't be known.
We wouldn't know George Carlin's name or talk about him, or I interviewed his daughter the other day. He got his book. He's an icon. If he stayed that clean guy, no fucking way.
Right, I know.
Richard Pryor.
Same with Pryor.
They're the same thing. Just they only had that clean persona at the beginning because of when they were born. And when they were 25, they had to be clean just to get on TV.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when it ended, that all ended, and they could be the other guy. They just did probably what they would have been doing the entire time if they were born when we were born.
Well, I'm not even saying I have the tendency to be different dirty. I feel like different subject matter, maybe.
Well, you can
I don't
always
know
do
why.
that.
I know. I'm trying to think specifically what you're talking about.
The guys that I like comedy, and you're definitely one that falls into this. And Bill Burr, Chris Rock, these guys, they usually, if you go see them every year, they take a lot of the stuff that had happened in the world that year is usually their set. People who listen to your podcast are laughing because I'm not a current events person. So I'm not talking current events specifically.
Right, no, yeah.
It could be, this restaurant chain does this.
You're just saying about doing stuff that's not about you,
not about
your family,
me.
your life, what you're going through, more about observations. Becoming an observational comedian.
I try to, people ask, well, that's a weird thing. People ask me who don't know me in interviews, over the years, what is your stand-up act about? And I go, I really don't have a theme. A lot of it is, my crazy fucked up life and stories and stuff. But then I'll also give an opinion about, a midget complaining about the N-word thing or something political.
Or the song,
whatever.
New York State of Mind.
The New York State of Mind thing, yeah.
Right,
that's got nothing to do with
you
me.
mix it up a little.
Right. I mean, to me, it's just whatever I think of that I think is funny. I don't have a thing. If I trap myself in a theme, it'd be very hard to write, I think.
Well, mine right now, my act in the last 10 years has been 100% me. And it's funny because my wife, I always talk about my wife. I don't mean this in a negative way, but sometimes, she said this recently, when I listen to your really old stuff, it was punchier. That's what she says.
Listen, a lot of that has to do maybe with this Alexa.
It might.
I agree.
I wonder sometimes.
You're without question a different comedian than you were before this Alexa. I'm not saying good or bad. I'm saying you're very different.
You're the first person to say that to me.
Really?
Yeah. What is different? I'm curious.
Less anger, first of all.
Is the way the joke sounds if you close your eyes different? Is the amount of punchlines different? Because she says I just kind of talk more now, and I used to have, Justin, you're very punchline. You got a lot. You.
Is that what you meant by that? Well, you have punchline.
I think I used to write. I do, but the jokes, when I start working on the joke, it almost says no punchlines.
I think you care a little bit too much about what the audience thinks more now than you used to. I think you seem more neurotic and sensitive about it. Now that can make you funnier too.
What do you mean?
Just because I think when the anger goes, I think part of part of you that wants to please the audience gets bigger, and you write accordingly, I think, because you care more. And then, first of all, the greatest comedians ever are like that, from Richard Lewis to Woody Allen, that neurotic thing.
Right.
That can make you I'm not saying you're less funny. I'm just saying there's less anger about your act than before the medication, without question.
Yeah, the jokes, and you write from your anger too.
Completely, it's all
So
comes
did
from a
I.
mad
I was
place.
like, I
that
used to be
midget N-word
livid.
thing is completely. I'm mad at the fact that that guy said that. The Empire State of Mind thing is, I'm mad that no one points that out. And then the other stuff, it's all from anger.
You're not even immediately angry. You're like seriously like I could imagine you yelling about that.
Yeah, you get. But again, if you were going to do the current events thing, and I'm saying this jokingly,
And I don't even just mean current events.
but
I
I'm
just
making a
mean
point.
stuff.
It's like if you were going to do that, you'd have to know what the GOP is. If you're going to change to that guy, you'd have to know.
You got to read the paper.
Bill Maher, I think, changed. If you look at his younger stuff, but again, he wasn't nearly as successful. The young mullet Bill Maher had a lot more of like sex and goofy stuff about the road than the severe, vicious political shit he does now.
I don't think any of his stand-up has that. Even now, if you go see him, it's like it's not the super smart guy that you see on Politically Incorrect when he does stand-up. I find.
Watch his last 5 specials.
Really?
All,
I'm wrong then.
It's all the politically correct guy.
Oh, okay.
To me,
I remember him still having some easy stuff, maybe in the 5 years
a
ago.
little bit mixed in, but watch his last 3 HBO specials.
Really?
They're all bitingly like.
Okay, I gotta watch him.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about him. I
Whatever
should never
you
have
feel
said
like
that.
doing, man. I mean, if you're having these funny thoughts and you're coming up with jokes and ideas about, just
Exactly,
run with
yeah.
that.
No
Why
one,
limit it?
no
Are
one
you
probably
thinking of
noticed it
consciously-
either.
Are you thinking of consciously saying my next special, I want no jokes to be about my family?
I've been
no
trying.
jokes
Yeah,
to
I've
be-
been trying to do
Why
that.
put
It's
yourself
probably
in that
stupid.
box? To me, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's hard enough to write jokes where there's no limit.
Yeah, just have it be about everything.
Or start it as a 5-10 minutes of your set, and if it's good, then you can add 10 to it. If that's good,
Right,
you can add 10 to it,
right.
and then no one's going to care. I mean,
Well-
you're up there being funny.
The thing is, Joe,
it's
you-
still through your lens.
You have to right. That's 100% right. And the other thing is, I joke about it. I even tell these younger guys. I mean, like Chris Cotton, they don't know. You gotta. Again, it's worked for you, and you've proven that. Now you can say, this critique doesn't work for Joe because he's made a living in stand-up not having to do this. But if you really wanted to do that, you're a really funny guy based on writing jokes about what you know, which is you. If you open up the world of what you know to all these current events, like reading the paper and really getting into the political shit, you're a funny guy no matter what. I bet you could totally write funny shit.
I try to tweet stuff like 2 days ago. It came out Cosby raped 2 more. 2 more came out.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if this is an easy joke, but I tweeted. I said, wow, Bill Cosby, 2 more rapes. I go, he's starting to put up. How did I word it? He's starting to get close to the unconsensual numbers that Will Chamberlain had consensually.
that's a good.
That was the joke.
That's a
He's
good,
starting to like loop over, like
I think all
and
of
then
us-
I tweeted my second joke was an old joke that your old roommate and I worked on together, which was about Wilt Chamberlain. I bet he has so many illegitimate daughters that's where the WNBA came.
No, that's a great joke.
The W didn't stand for women's.
That
was another one. I like jokes.
That's
like
hard
that.
to beat. My two Cosby things I've been trying to work out. I don't even know. Again, you question like to me, I was concentrating on the fact that he's so good at putting these women to sleep. It's unbelievable. Like he's almost like a hacky hypnotist in Vegas. Like he's like, okay, on 3 you're going to be asleep. You're going to be asleep, and you're sleeping. You're sleeping. I am not raping you. I'm not raping you. There's no way I'm raping. Bill Cosby is not raping you. When you wake up, you're going to think Malcolm Jamal Warner raped you. That's who raped you. On 3, we're going to wake up, and you're just at an audition for Fat Albert. You're going to wake up, and that was great to me. So like that, and the other thing is how much I love when a legendary comic will come in and to a comedy club and it's unannounced and come in, and like Jerry Seinfeld coming into a comedy club unannounced and doing a quick like a half-hour set, or Bill Maher coming in unannounced and doing a half-hour set. Or the other day Bill Cosby came in and unannounced he raped 3 waitresses unannounced.
You'll be happy to know that I think I read this a couple days ago, that Eddie Murphy actually did a Bill Cosby thing at the Mark Twain Awards.
What'd he do?
It's on YouTube a little bit. Like,
Well, he was going to do that. According to Norm Macdonald,
He was gonna do that
He
at
was going
SNL?
at SNL. He was about to. Literally, Norm said he was backstage contemplating it. The writers gave him stuff, and he wanted to do a Bill Cosby impression and a joke as Bill Cosby.
That's what this was.
And he said at the last second, he said, "Why hit a guy when he's down?" That was in February.
Oh,
so
he
now
changed
I'm
his
sure.
mind.
Well, I
Those
mean,
two
now,
more
now,
girls came out.
I'm two more. It's like, it's like there's less stars on the flag than I've been rating my.
It was funny what he said, and then he did a Bill Cosby impression. But he said that he goes he heard that the Mark Twain Awards wanted him to give his Mark Twain Award back. They wanted Cosby to give his back. He goes, shit's bad when they want their fucking trophy back.
Yeah.
And then he did Cosby like's voice, giving Cosby impression.
That's great. I mean, yeah, that's when you can do a perfect Cosby impression.
Yeah.
And I know you were upset that. We were talking about this on the podcast that Eddie Murphy isn't trying to be funny anywhere. I was like, oh my God, he's actually trying and he still can do it.
He's so good, Eddie Murphy. He could literally go into being funny and then tell you, okay, now I'm not being funny for a little while. He did that at the first MTV Movie Awards. Try to find this on YouTube. I guess they begged him to do it. God knows what they had to pay him for to do it, because it was like 1993. It was already this mega star, and he hosted the show.
I remember.
And he came out and he goes, "Okay, tonight, guys, listen. We're in a rush. I'm not going to be funny the whole time. Sometimes I'm going to be just serious and introduce somebody. Because other times I'll be funny." Now, how many people are talented enough in history? First of all, and rock star enough in history to get away with that. So he does the thing where he introduces, like, I think Sharon Stone wins an award. She's wearing a weird hat, and she said something serious, and she left, and he said something funny about her hat. He goes, "That hat was like blah," and he said some punchline about the hat. People laughed, and he goes, "See, that was the funny part. Now I'm going to be serious and going." It was very nice what she said. He's not good. I mean,
great.
But you just begging him to. You heard these rumors that he might go on tour again and do another.
He says that here too.
Oh God, it's like, okay, do it. I mean, do you really have to make Pluto Nash instead of that?
Yeah. Well, he should be doing stadiums.
Yeah, he was a guy. People forget that, people talk about Dice and everything. I saw Eddie Murphy at Madison Square Garden in 1988 or whatever it was, 20,000 seat garden.
You're so lucky.
Was that the Delirious or Raw taping, or was it? Yeah, Raw.
Not a taping.
Oh, was he?
He hadn't taped it yet.
He was just working on it.
Yeah.
It was the tour. Yeah,
He was doing a warm-up set at a packed Madison Square Garden.
I'm opening for Bill Burr in front of 15,000 on Friday.
Wow, but again, Bill.
I'm nervous about it.
God, good for him, because Bill is a guy who really deserves that. He's a guy you really like, and it's like the 15,000 people, to get them to come, that's really impressive.
Yeah,
that's a lot of people.
He just was up in Boston, broke the record for sold out shows at the Wilbur.
How many?
He did like 18 shows.
I was going to say, I play the Wilbur.
No.
I still sell that out. How many did he have to do?
He did 18 shows.
18 in a row,
like that.
18 in a row.
Like,
two a
night for like a couple. Yeah.
Joe was with me. I mean, at the height of my Stern days, and this was with plugs on the Stern show. I think my record was 10,000 people one time, but
you never tested it though. You never tested being able to do that, because I don't think comedians are doing those places.
I didn't even know exactly. I was like, I don't know if who knows, but
in New York,
I never pushed it. That's for sure. But
like, let's add a second show. You probably didn't even think that.
Universal. Well, that's because I had to be back at 6 a.m. Monday. I didn't want to do a second show.
That's true.
The Universal Amphitheater, Carnegie Hall sold out in an hour for me at that fucking.
You could have easily done a second show.
Third,
they actually
sell out
wanted
an
me
hour.
to. Well, they wanted me to, and I was like, I it was just pure laziness. But that was back before. And then Dane Cook got involved. Look, I'm not putting myself in that category. You got to give Billy Burr a lot of credit, because he did it purely from creating an audience from being funny.
He did exactly what you told me to do, which is just go work on your act. That's what they said he did, right? He came into the clubs.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't even want to talk at the end. He would go home and work on his act.
Colin Quinn was in here talking about that. He goes, the guy always points to is Bill Burr, like in those years, those classic cellar years where everybody was at the table, like, the Louis and the, late 90s, early 2000s. Yeah. Bill Burr had hung out. He just disappeared. And I remember talking to Bobby Kelly or somebody about the fact that I don't see him here anymore. He goes, yeah, he kind of disappeared. And some comics gave him shit about it. He goes, you know what? This is not productive. Sitting around till 4 a.m. making my friends laugh and goofing on each other isn't productive. I'm going to go work on my act, and that's what he did. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and that rant in Philly was
that helped too. That was a big.
That
Where for 15,000? Where, Joe?
the Wells Fargo Center where the Sixers play.
Oh, so good for you.
In my
What a
hometown.
great
I
gig.
asked to go on it because it's my home city. I thought it'd be fun.
How many comics on that?
I had to get my.
Is it just you and him?
I'm not sure. I'm told it might just be me and him, and I didn't even want to ask for free tickets. So my brother, my sister, my mom, and dad are paid.
Right.
They're sitting all the way at the top. I'm almost wish they didn't come. There's a little bit of a comedian, like you guys are probably the same way.
Did
I wish
they come? They were at Carnegie Hall, right?
Yeah, I almost wish that, and that didn't
But you
go
did
well.
well there.
No,
What do
I
you mean?
didn't.
Yeah, but you got a big laugh with that line.
That, but I didn't have a good set because it was a disrupted
Really?
audience that
No.
night. Yeah, I didn't do well that night.
Well, Florentine was on stage when Howard walked in. That was the, you know.
Yeah.
But really, because I was backstage. I thought you did well there.
It didn't-
Is that not a good memory for you?
It's not a bad memory,
All right.
but I remember the Beacon. The Beacon was a lot better,
The Beacon Theater that you and Nick did was that was a much better crowd.
and I was a lot.
And that sold out too. That was 3,300 at the Beacon. That sold out too. you
Yeah,
know?
I was gonna say it's funny because it doesn't seem like long ago, but I bet it's a. I'm not as good of a comic back then, so that might have been why I
Dude,
didn't do as well.
It's almost 7 years ago already.
It seems like it's
Can
more
you
than that.
believe that?
It's
like-
only set. I thought I thought it'd be 12, 13
Oh no, wait,
years ago.
Carnegie Hall.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Carnegie Hall is 9 years ago.
9 years ago.
Yeah, November of 2006.
Yeah.
The Beacon is 6 years. I mean, like six years ago.
That's one of the best compliments I've ever gotten as a comedian. It was like in the last year. This Johnny Lampert, who you know, he actually goes, "You know what, Matarese, the one thing about you," he goes, "every year you get better." He goes, he goes. I'm not. Should I say the name that he said? He said.
Well,
All right,
you
I'll
had a
say it.
very
Fuck it.
low starting point.
No, but he goes, you know,
Compliment?
he names
Every
some
year you
really
get better.
he names some really great comedians. He goes, but they've been great for 10 years. They don't actually get better.
Oh, that's. I mean, yes, I would agree with that. I mean,
Yeah.
because you work it. You're a comic, man. You work all the time, and I mean, listen.
But
I've worked with you for how long on the road? I always see that.
But I always think the comedians that are really good out of the gate are the ones that end up making fame out of being a
I
stand-up.
don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Like there was guys like
What do you mean really good? What do you mean by really good out of the
some
gate?
guys like they just were really confident, good performers. Maybe the material wasn't as good as their material is now.
You mean even their first
early
6
on.
months of doing
No,
it?
I don't mean that early on. But guys like 5 years in
You're
were
talking about
really
guys that
strong.
are still they're young, like they're still in their late 20s,
Yeah.
early 30s.
Remember
Right,
guys
by
like
then,
different
right?
ball-
Okay.
well,
Remember
Well, Chappelle is
and remember
They get
Jay Moore when he was like 25 years old could just fucking destroy.
Yeah, well, he's a guy he's the opposite of you. He's a guy who's gotten worse every year. No, I'm kidding. I'm a friend of Jay's.
I'm trying to-
Joe teed that up, so I took
Yeah,
it.
but
No,
there are-
Jay Moore is a really, he's always been,
Good.
feel, a seasoned
Yeah.
stand-up comedian.
I can't remember seeing a new hacky, shitty Jay Moore. I
But
don't
right,
remember
but
that.
also from a guy who can transfer from a good impression into a comedy bit, and you're right. He's always been sort of just there, But
Even like when he got the part as on Jerry Maguire, I think it might have been like his first acting audition ever. Something really
he
early
was
on.
really good in that too. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was a perfect villain.
Was that after SNL for him or
Yes.
before?
Yeah, it all happened after SNL for him. All that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, so maybe SNL was when he was a pretty young
Well,
guy.
he got. Yeah, I mean, but he talks about in his book pretty openly about how it was so hard to get on at SNL, and your confidence level goes down, and then he was on a trajectory to become mainstream in movies, which is going through that meteor fucking Space Jam is crazy.
This is gonna sound fucking crazy. I know you want to end the podcast. I'll just keep bringing up. This is the same subject, but I always feel a lot of it has to do with your upbringing. And I've always slammed my parents. I mean, I'm close with them. They're great parents. But they were definitely parents that gave me an insecure personality. Mm-hmm. Whereas, like, I think I used to say this even to Justin. I go, I watched Dane cook for 5 minutes. I go, I guarantee his mom gives him a lot of compliments. You could just tell.
Everybody in his life does. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's successful, because that helps.
But that doesn't. Okay.
You have a mom like that.
Compliments?
She's very complimentary of you as a performer. My mom thinks I'm not
supportive,
funny.
like the supportive
dude,
stuff, having that support from your parents.
My she doesn't. She says you're not funny. She tells you that you're not.
She used to say, "I can't believe that you went into comedy." Like she always used to say it. She would say, "My brother."
Artie, you thought of saying that to
Well, no, my
Joe a couple times.
I've said it. Your mother said that to me.
No, but if you hung out with my brother and me, my brother's the funny one. Like he's the funnier one.
Yeah, but there's a difference.
But then I'm the stage funnier one.
Yeah, but I did.
I'll get
funny
that
at an
though.
Eagles game.
I'll get that with my family. They'll say
get
like,
it?
his brother Jeff's funnier than him. You know what I mean? Because you know what I mean. So I'll get that a little bit
No,
too.
my mother
but
was-
it's a different kind of funny.
Yeah, my mother was insanely negative. I mean,
Really?
the book "Too Fat to Fish" is her quote.
She shows up at every show. Like my mom skips
no,
my
she
shows.
doesn't. Shows up at every
if I'm in the
show.
home, if I'm in Cherry Hill, my mom would rather just watch TV at home than go see me.
My
do a
mother's
set.
been to tops 10 of my shows.
Really? She's
Yeah.
always there.
She was at Carnegie Hall. It's fucking Carnegie Hall. I mean,
No, I'm talking like almost
Where
every
else
time
was-
I work with you in Jersey, your sister and your mom are there.
name
And your uncles
cannot
and
be
stuff?
more wrong. They named the last time that my mother was at a show.
I
We
see.
worked
I
in
feel like
Jersey.
every time I've ever hung around your mom, besides the Super Bowl party, was been at one of your shows.
All right, well, yeah, because I'm not saying you've never met her at a show.
But you think she was like my mom?
Very critical.
Wanted me to
very critical, and not in a way, but in a way she didn't even screaming at me about stuff that she thought was helpful. That if you would
really?
read it on. Of course, if you would read it on a piece of paper, it's insane that she wouldn't be able to believe what came out.
Funny
of her
hearing you
mouth.
guys do a battle on whose mom
This is great. I didn't know this
worse.
because I always thought you had a very like a super positive showbiz kind of mom. I don't know why. I did.
That is probably the biggest misconception of any. Dan, could you feel he's more off?
I'm wrong, Dan.
That's why he's been attributing all your success, Artie.
Can I edit this out after the show?
No.
You're wrong, Joe.
Really?
Yeah.
No,
My
but
mom.
I'm not. But look, I'm not saying that as
Yeah.
an insult to my mother. I'm just
Right.
saying she doesn't even know from the beginning. I remember that you talk about those deals I got the first time I cashed a big check. Like I purposely did this to her because "Too Fat to Fish" is something she really said to me. I was about to go fishing at 5:00 in the morning because my boss at the port when I was a longshoreman said, "Let's go." And I never went fishing. I didn't care about it. And I went out the night before. I got ossified drunk. I had been asleep for an hour. I still smelled like tequila. And I was going to fish because my boss wanted me to. And my mother was up at 5 a.m. vacuuming. Okay, that's what she was doing because she vacuumed before she went to her job as a secretary because she's Italian and batshit crazy.
We have a very similar mom.
Yeah, okay, so she sees me and she goes, "Where are you going?" I go, "I'm going fishing." She goes, "What?" She goes, "I'm going fishing." She wouldn't let me out of the house because she felt I was too fat to fish. Because "You're too fat," screaming it. So the neighbors heard it. It became a story. The neighbors heard this, and she goes, she didn't think I was capable of navigating myself on a boat. She goes, "You'll fall out of the boat. You'll drown. You can't go fishing." I'm 22 years old. I called up my boss at the port and said, "My mother won't let me go fishing." and he was Italian guy from Newark. He goes, "I get it. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you Monday." I went to sleep. I woke up at 3 p.m. and she made me a mozzarella omelet, and I was so glad I didn't go fishing. But I said, "Ma, did you realize what you screamed?" Because the neighbors were talking about it. It was so funny that phrase "too fat to fish" just flowed out of her head. So when I made enough money and I started a corporation, I named it "Too Fat to Fish." I got the first check, my first big check in life was for over 6 figures, one of those deals. And I showed it to her, and not once did she say, "I'm proud of you. I always knew this." She was like, she really thought, like, "What do you have to do for this money? Why are you getting paid this money?" She thought I was running guns to Cuba for Fox or something. She had no idea why I was making the money because she just didn't think I was capable of doing something that warranted that kind of money. She was being negative in a way she didn't even realize.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
what do you,
like straightforward.
What do you think? She's like Liza Minnelli or something? I mean,
Wow.
I don't understand. God, no one has ever said
That's
something.
funny.
Yeah.
Well, your mom would be happy that I thought your mom was like the type that would sit there and like laugh at her son and what are you doing comedy? No, right?
Artie's the best.
No, I'm way
Artie's the
wrong.
best.
Oh my God.
When I got office detention. I remember for the first time, and then I got suspended in the 6th grade. She came in, and as a matter of fact, the teachers would say you're refreshing because a lot of these parents defend these assholes. And my mother would come in and go, "What happened?" And, he did this. That. She goes, "Yeah, it was probably him." No defense at all.
Was your grandmom negative too? Because I have it, mom and grandmom. I was doubled up, and my grandmom lived around the block, so I got it from both.
My grandmother, my Italian grandmother, here's how she was. I've told the story. She would always. My grandmother was very, very, very religious with Christianity, to the point where she would only pray to saints on saint cards because you didn't bother Jesus. You didn't go to him directly. You went to one of his assistants because it was rude to bother Jesus with stupid shit. So she prayed to saints. There was St. Michael, St. Christopher. St. Christopher is a saint of travel.
bother Jesus.
Right. So St. Christopher is the saint of travel. If you had a son who was a pilot,
That is a scene
you
in a
prayed to
sitcom.
St. Christopher.
Yeah.
And she prayed to St. Joseph from all my cousins. And I would say, I saw her one time. I said, what do you pray to St. Joseph? She goes, well, he's a patron saint for the working man, for carpenters. You know, he's a carpenter. And all my cousins were carpenters. That's why I pray to St. Joseph for them. I go, okay. And then I said jokingly, what do you pray for me? You know, I just kind of, barely got out of high school and everything. Dead serious. She said, I pray to St. Jude for you every day. I said, oh, that's nice. About 3 weeks later, I was with my uncle, who was at the time a born again Christian. So it was in my head. I go, "What? St. Jude, St. Joseph?" I said, "What's?" I told him the story. He started to laugh. I go, "What?" He goes, "St. Jude is the patron saint for hopeless causes."
There you go, Joe.
So my grandmother was being nice to me, but showing that she thought I was hopeless. Literally, she was praying to the saint for hopeless causes at 18 years. I was 18. She wrote it off already.
Took you 3 weeks to realize that.
I mean, I don't know. What did you think she was like?
I
would
thought
take me
that.
for tap dance lessons?
Yeah.
Yell at the fucking teacher because I wasn't getting the right feedback or something?
She doesn't put off, I'm not proud of my son. To me, she seems very proud of
No,
you.
yes, of course she's
I don't-
proud
yeah.
that I got
now,
her a
but
house.
I think maybe it's now. Maybe it's now versus then. Like with my mom, I find that it comes through more now. But when I was younger, it was just it felt very
she
mean.
would say to you? What would she say? to
Okay,
you?
well, this is more about
Now
my.
I'm trying to think what the fuck was this woman saying.
Well,
to
this
you?
is more about my grandmama because when you were saying your story, it just made me think of this. time.
What about Levity Live? First of all,
I haven't heard.
Oh, he hasn't heard.
we got to make a decision
Yeah,
here.
I haven't.
Because I would feel terrible.
I mean, look, don't worry about
the
it.
urgency.
Dude, why don't we just walk into a comedy club in New York City and say, "Can Justin go up in 10 minutes?" We have a better shot at that. We're going right through the city.
If it's 7:30,
There's got to be somewhere you can get up
Yeah,
tonight.
I can go stand up.
if
or
you
the
gotta
strip.
be-
Just walk in and go on.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, if the decision is Nyack Levity Live 7:30, I can't express how urgently you should leave right now.
Yeah, I don't think he.
So-
They're
Yeah, I don't
they're
think
not
it's gonna
saying he
happen.
has it.
I don't think
so
it's gonna
it'd
happen.
be stupid
I
to
checked
start
my
driving.
Then what Joe just said is completely right.
You can get on.
Yeah.
He's got to run his 8-minute set somewhere tonight,
All right.
and that'll be easy. I think we can pull that off easily. This one is more classic that I think you'll find kind of weird and interesting, but because you were talking about development deals, I remember when I had a development deal, I decided to move to LA,
Right.
Because I had to write the pilot with the writer.
I remember you telling me that in Stand Up New York, like whatever year that was in the 90s, that you had a deal.
I had a
Was it
deal.
UPN, right?
No, it was
Was it one of those other networks
It was
like
a
VH1?
production
Or
deal.
okay,
no,
yeah.
not
But-
the VH1.
oh,
that
You
was
were
a
with-
different
Were
one.
you with Peter at the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
No. I fired Peter.
Yeah, that's
and then
right.
got the deal 3 weeks later.
You had just fired Peter, yeah, because I remember he
Was-
Peter was
He
livid.
was mad about that.
Was that the Overbrook deal?
Yeah, Overbrook
Overbrook,
Entertainment, Will Smith's production company, and then NBC signed on. But yeah, I remember I got the development deal. Was the
All those people lost their jobs,
Yeah,
by the way.
you're probably
Exactly.
right. Most money I've ever
Including Will Smith.
Most money I ever made in my whole career was that check. I go over to say goodbye to my grandma. The other reason I was moving to LA is I got an agent out of it, which is fucking hilarious how this
Sure.
business works. And you're so dumb that you just go, yeah, let's sign another guy into commission that for no reason I just gave them money.
Makes no
the
sense.
deal was done.
Yep.
So I literally go over to my grandma's around the block. I go, just want to say goodbye. I'm moving to LA. Blah, blah, blah.
Just want to say goodbye.
She's crying hysterically, right?
Yeah.
I call up my mom. I go, Ma, why is we say mom? Do you call him mom? Is that an Italian thing? Mom and
No, I
pop-up?
never called. None, but I
You
would
call
say
none.
grandma, my grandmother.
I call her my mom and my
Yeah.
pop-up.
Right.
I go,
It's a
Mom.
Cherry Hill thing.
Mom's
Sounds like a Cherry Hill
I go,
thing.
Mom's crying hysterically. She says she's so worried and sad that I'm moving to LA. I go, did you tell her about the money?
Yeah.
She goes, no. I go, why? She goes, I didn't want it to look like I was bragging. I go, it's my fucking grandma. Like, how is that bragging if you tell your grandma, your own mom? That's your mom. You can let her know.
God,
She's crying over here.
God, you're neurotic.
Is that a neurotic?
That's the story you're going to give me?
No, the other one.
Dude, Artie,
That is what the...
Right.
Justin's got way worse. His mom
I'm
died.
staying with
Way
him.
worse.
I'm
Way
staying
worse.
with him for the next 2 nights.
Way worse. You shouldn't follow. You should not follow Justin's father in underwear throwing a brick through a bank with your mother thinking she might be a little bragging with.
No.
You really were affected by that?
My mom was more.
But in an Italian family, there is that sense of like
sensitive.
you don't bring like if you have success, sometimes you don't tell the other.
That one
relatives.
isn't going in the line of what you're talking. I just threw that out because I thought it was a funny story.
Oh, okay.
The one more
Well,
that
be clear
the one
about
that was in my one-man show about my mom, and my mom read it on paper and started crying, and then I didn't know she saw the script for my one-man show, and my dad calls me in the room. He goes, "Hey, you doing a story about performing in the basement in your one-man show?" I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "Yeah, your mom read that little scene. I had a scene about I really would do this."
How'd she find it? She just what it was.
She found a notebook like sitting in my room or something.
Right.
When I was visiting. So I had a story about I had this guitar amp in my basement, and I used to go down there and perform on the microphone really loud, and she would yell from the kitchen, shut up down there. You're not good." And I still remember that, and I go, I'm performing for a 10-speed and a ping pong table. I mean, I think she's being quick to make the judgment. How do you know? But those were the kind of things like, I'm surprised you're doing comedy, that kind of thing. My grandma, I'm saying, why didn't you learn a trade?
So that's the other
These aren't
story?
that bad, are they? I love the way he's laughing.
Your mother, you were annoying your mother with a guitar upstairs.
No,
and she
not a
yelled
guitar. I was talking on the mic.
So you were being loud or annoying.
She said, "Shut up, you're not good."
Joe,
That's not
what
that
were you-
bad.
what were you doing?
That's
I
the
was
most loving.
performing.
Stand up?
Singing,
Joe,
all that shit.
that would be one of the most loving things my mother would ever say. in a
My
situation
therapist thought, he goes, "I get you." He goes, "She should have been." She saw that you had this.
I don't want you to
They
keep
tried
coming-
to steer me away from performing.
Your
He thought-
therapist wants you to keep coming back with fucking $8.
I'm sounding like an idiot. I don't go to therapy anymore.
That
But
wasn't that bad. I mean,
Okay.
like, I've been loud in the basement. I used to do the same shit, and they would go, get the fuck out of the house. Get a place to live.
they would kick you out.
No, they would threaten to. I would
My
just
dad
say.
broke my leg. How's that?
Okay, well, I
You
don't
want to get
Now
serious?
we're getting somewhere.
I don't want you to. What
I
happened?
told my.
Under what kind?
I said "fuck you" to my mom.
In anger, he broke your leg.
Yeah.
Rather than say break a leg, he broke your leg.
What? What did he do?
Right? You wanted them to.
I said "fuck you" to my mom at the dinner table, and he goes, "You don't curse to your mom.
Yeah, well, I
get
mean-
the fuck out. You're grounded. Blah blah blah. Get the. You're not allowed to go out tonight." And I was like, probably going to some bar with fake ID.
Yeah.
And I go, "Fuck you too. I'm going out." And I ran out the front door to go out.
Yeah.
And he ran out, chased me. Fucking Brian Dawkins tackled me, jumped
Right.
on top of me, pulled me to the ground. My leg fucking snapped.
So by mistake.
By mistake.
Well, he did.
You
He
sound like
tackled-
my brother, exactly.
Yeah.
He goes, "What's the big deal? You deserved it." No, and my mom goes, "What did you do to your father?" That's what she said. I go, "I broke my leg. Look at it. It's purple. You're fine. You're fine." That's what he said. But that came up in therapy 25
Well,
years
I
ago.
that
can't
is-
help but think if you were
Never
grew up-
said he
if
was
he grew up
sorry.
today, he would have been in a classroom getting flipped by a cop
Probably would
in
have.
his desk.
Well, I will say this:
I'm not getting off my phone.
the aftermath of not saying sorry that is fucked up.
I got him to say sorry 30 years later.
All right, well-
I said, "Dad, I got two problems here. One, you never said sorry for breaking my legs, and
but
two, you never said I love you to me once." And he's like, "I didn't?" I'm like, "No, never
Well,
once."
Again, my father didn't.
That was the generation. Right?
My
No one ever
father
said that.
said my father after he fell said I love you a couple times, but not. Again, these are.
I'll tell you what, though, my dad and I have an amazing relationship now. Since I got that off my chest and those two things, I don't know.
So this ends with you having a great relationship.
I have a great relationship
But
with my dad
again,
now.
it's not fair to your dad to just scream out, "My dad broke my leg," and that there's no.
I tried to
context.
save this dysfunctional conversation.
Well, let's end this.
Jeez, please.
Again, it's everyone has a different view on stuff, but again, you grew up in fucking utopia compared to me, based on those two.
That's why you're more successful, I think.
No, it's not.
I believe the more dysfunction, the more success.
Yeah, but my
But you
comedy.
started it with saying that he had the most support. That's why he's successful.
Well,
I know,
but I knew he had dysfunction. I thought it was all from your dad.
major. Yeah, but it was before that. So, I mean, we all have it, but there's different levels of. I think my own dysfunction. And the fact that I had stories to tell. Again, I don't think it had anything to do with talent. There is an ability in telling stories. Like Justin's very funny in telling that because I was too because you've told it a million times. When you have crazy stories, that's good to be armed with that. But you also have to have the ability to tell them in a funny way, which Justin clearly does.
I don't think mine are dark enough, and it can.
They're not.
To me,
I'm telling you, they're not.
To me, what you're saying makes sense. Where you
Compared to what he
no,
just said.
but where you said when you did find me the funniest was no Celexa, I was a
I didn't
raw.
say the funniest. I didn't say the funniest.
Oh, not the funniest.
I said different.
Different. He said different.
I said
Yeah.
both are a very funny version of it. I just said different. You mentioned
You don't get as angry, he said. Like that. Just like that.
I was way punchier though when I was angry. A lot of punchlines. That's something about anger. You ever notice when you're just yelling, some funny shit just fucking wings out of your brain out of anger?
Again, you have a lot of punchlines still. It's